Good morning, everybody. Is it still morning? No, it's officially afternoon. It's 12:04. It is April 22nd, I think. It's Wednesday, April 2020, in the middle of the coronavirus and all this other fun stuff. Here, let me take these off. I can't stand when I have that glare from my glasses. So, um, I have been wanting to do a YouTube page thingamajig for a bit now. The thing that I'm having a difficulty with is figuring out exactly what my niche would be, um, what I could bring to the table that other people haven't already brought to the table. And my favorite things are I like to bake, I like to cook, I love to play PlayStation 4. My favorites right now, at the moment, are Red Dead Redemption 2 and Modern Warfare, the newest one. I play with my sons and my husband, primarily my oldest son, who's 19. My younger son is 15. And my husband of 21 years. February, we made our 21st wedding anniversary. We are one of those couples that we were married in February at the courthouse and then had a church wedding. The church wedding was primarily because my mom had said she never had a wedding. So, my being the only girl, the only daughter, she really wanted to have a church wedding. It wasn't as important to Mike and I because it just wasn't. Marriage is much more important than doing the big old wedding. So this was May of 1999, and we brought the entire wedding in. Wedding dress, flowers, food, the whole shebang in under $5,000. We had, I want to say, 56 guests, somewhere in that ballpark. It wasn't like any of the weddings I had been to. I don't know, it just kind of died down around 10 o'clock at night, which was really weird. But it also didn't bother me because I was like, yay, we can go to the hotel now and chill out and watch a movie. Get out of this corset and everything else that I'd been wearing. But I am always looking for the next best weight loss thing. I have always been on the heavier side ever since I can remember, as far back as 5 years old. And mine is, some of it is biology because I have a slow thyroid. So I take levothyroxine for that. That's a generic form of Synthroid. But that's controlled and, you can work around it and eat certain things. People believe that there is a clean way to eat to where the thyroid won't be a problem for you. Da 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 da. I don't eat a lot, but where I can fall short and fall off the wagon is and this is just a habit. It's a bad habit, and it's a bad habit I learned from my mom because my mom used to do it. You're not supposed to eat after 7 p.m. It's just wise not to eat past then so that your body can digest whatever it is you have eaten during the day. So if you go to bed at a quote-unquote normal time, which is 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, you've had a few hours for your body to digest whatever it is you've eaten during the day. You will hear all kinds of theories about you should have 5 small meals, you should eat more vegetables, you should eat more meat, you should stay away from carbs, you should da 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 da. Everybody's body is different. So what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. I will tell you that what has worked for me in the past is high protein, very low carbohydrates. I have trouble pushing water because it's just bland. I love coffee. I use Equal and I use powdered creamer. Very rarely do I use flavored creamer. It's usually if I'm in the mood for it or if it's a holiday or, oh my gosh, look at that sale. I can't pass that up. That type of thing. Um, I do make my own chai spice recipe that I put in the grounds before brews. It's really easy. You can find chai spice recipes online. It's much less expensive than buying chai spice online or in the store because you can get what you need, which is, I'll go read off the recipe in a minute, but I wanted some quiet because being that we're on lockdown and all this other stuff, we're all at home, so dogs are barking. My husband is always on the phone. Um, but back to me. Uh, let's see. I love to cook. I love to bake. I like taking normal recipes and changing them and adding something or taking something out or, oh, let's try this. Yeah, type of thing. My mom was adopted at the age of 4, and she was adopted by a family that owned a restaurant in the Chicago area, the Chicago suburbs. I believe it was Rolling Meadows. If the name comes to me of the pub, I'll say it, but it doesn't always just naturally come to me because my grandfather died 7+ years before I was born. That was my step grandfather. But having grown up in a restaurant, my mom always cooked as if she was cooking for an army. So there was always too much food. And of course, like the kids of the 70s and early 80s, we were guilted into, well, the people in China are starving. So finish what you've got, and that's one thing. If you have a small plate and you're given normal servings, of course, you should finish what's on your plate. But if you're given servings enough for 3 people, that's just unrealistic, and you're setting yourself and or your child or whomever it is you're feeding, you're setting them up for failure and for an eating disorder. When you're that young and you grow up that way, that's normal. So you got to reprogram yourself, which is a constant everyday thing. Some days are better than others, of course, and I find that weight, particularly being an overweight person, weight is the last addiction on this planet that is actually respected as an addiction, because it is an addiction. It's plain old fashioned. I don't have a drinking alcohol problem. I don't have a drug addiction. Sometimes if I'm doing really well on my diet, I can falter and overspend. So I would think that I would almost fall into the shopaholic category if I didn't have a quote-unquote eating disorder. So I guess that's going to be the thing that's nearest and dearest to my heart, is overeating and trying to find something that works for me to become healthy. I am 51. I turned 51 in February. So I'm not so much inclined to want to be a certain size or to be able to wear a certain something or to look a certain way. I want to be healthy. How that looks, I don't know. It's more, I think, a personal thing of, today I feel pretty good. That's where I want to be 90% of the time, because as with anything else in life, you're not going to be 100% all the time. There's always going to be something that comes up and bites you in the butt. Other favorites, and I put on a face today, some makeup. I've been following this, and it's because of this coronavirus thing and this shelter in place. I have been watching YouTube a heck of a lot more than I would have ever expected to have watched YouTube. My kids have watched YouTube for years, and I never really understood it. It bored the crap out of me because I'm like, why in the world would I sit here and watch somebody play a game? I'm going to play the game. I don't see why playing the game would help me. But having said that, I have got a whole new appreciation for YouTube. And the one girl I've been watching the most, and oh my goodness, she's funny as all get out. She reminds me of my cousin Catherine. Shout out to my cousin. I miss you always. You are feisty and funny, and when I was younger, you were everything I always wanted to be. You were brave and adventuresome. You seemed unstoppable to me. You were honest and funny and feisty and just everything. So, anywho, this woman's name is Bailey Sarian, and I don't remember how to spell her last name, but you should be able to find it. Just put in Bailey, Bailey, and then Sar. Sorry, I don't remember the spelling, but you should be able to find it that way. She does makeup, and she does these things. Monday, murder, mystery, and makeup, I think. Really good. And I've been following her and kind of fiddling with makeup and stuff like that because I've never really played with makeup. I've used it my whole life, but I never just played with it to come up with a different look, that kind of thing. So it's been kind of fun doing that. And I've been trying to figure out how to do eyebrows. Mine just look like hair on my face. So I'm trying to learn how to do that. What are my other faves? I grew up knowing about tarot cards and going to psychic fairs. They would have these get-togethers, and I've not been to one in years and years and years and years, ever since my mom's been gone 19 years, and I have not been to one in that long. And I know they have them, they still have them, where you would go and find it online, and it's sort of like a circus, but it's a whole bunch of people that do different metaphysical things. Chakra readings and palm readings and all this other stuff. And I grew up Missouri Synod Lutheran, which is, my husband calls it Catholic Light, because it's the one step away from Catholicism. It was what Martin Luther was. I don't think that they called it Missouri Synod Lutheran when he was around. I don't even know what he would have considered himself, probably a Catholic, but he is the man back in the 1500s who nailed reformations to the church's door. And the only true difference between Catholicism and Missouri Synod Lutheran is we do not have confessionals. So, of course, you can go talk to the minister and stuff like that, but you don't have to say, I did this, this, and that, and then they give you absolution, and then you say Hail Marys or whatever it is you need to do for whatever sin it is you're confessing. So that is really the only big difference between that and Catholicism. I am originally a Chicago suburb girl, grew up in Carpentersville. It's a little, it's not so little anymore though, I gotta tell you. Always has been blue collar. But it was really a neat place to grow up because we were 1 hour from Iowa, 1 hour from Indiana, 1 hour from Chicago, 1 hour from Wisconsin. And so when I was learning how to drive, my dad loves to drive. So I would be given the keys. Dad would get in the passenger seat and we'd drive all the way to Iowa and back home. And we would almost inevitably always stop at a truck stop for lunch. It's okay. I'm just doing a video. I'm trying to figure out exactly where my niche is in YouTube.
Oh, gotcha.
So, trying to find my way. Uh, but now that he's in here, I'm going to walk out. And I am going to go this way and go to our little office. I'm going to leave the door open. Say hello.
Heyo.
Heyo. So, yeah, did that every Saturday and Sunday till I was a really good driver. And, anywho, I am doing this video because I'd like to figure out what it is that I can contribute to the world. What I can do to help my fellow man, fellow sister, fellow human being. Here's our kitchen. We have, main reason I was saying something about the Chicago suburbs. My family on my dad's side was in the Chicago suburbs from about 1839 on. I know little bits and pieces of my family history, but my mom's side I was always very curious about because mom was adopted, and I did that Ancestry.com thing. I'd always been told I was Irish and I was German and Swedish, and yeah, I was a mutt. And so they had a Mother's Day deal. It was Mother's Day or Father's Day, but I want to say it was Mother's Day. And my husband was adopted as well. So we both did the DNA. And he had been told his whole life he was Italian and Czechoslovakian. And then, of course, what I was told. So we did the DNA, and it was kind of funny because he gets his back like in 3 weeks. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And finally, I get this email that says, "We can't test your DNA. We don't know what you are." I really wasn't surprised. I thought it was kind of funny. So my test finally came back after they sent a complimentary one because, of course, I'd already paid for it, so it wasn't like I got it for free. But they reran it, and I am something like 37% Vikings. What is the Vikings? Netherlands? No, it was in Netherlands. You know what I'm talking about, though. In that neck of the woods. In like Holland and Finland. I think it was Finland. Anyway. And like 23% French. And I was like, holy crap. 1% Irish. I thought that was hysterical because my whole life I grew up believing I was Irish. Now, this was only just this last, just this last Mother's Day. So it's all new information to me. And it showed that my family, from the DNA testing that they were able to do, that my family had come down from Europe, far north, past Scotland and all that, and had settled in Canada and had come to America in the early to mid 1700s. I was like, wow. And what's funny about that, the reason I'm laughing about this is my grandfather, my father's father, was in World War I, and he was in France. And I don't know a lot because he passed away when I was 2.5, and what I did see of him, he just wasn't a very nice man. I was told he was very nice before the war, and the war changed him, Sometimes, to be honest with you, that just feels like an excuse to be an asshole. I'm sorry, but I have a lot of excuses to be an asshole, and it's a choice. And when it comes to your family, and I don't know, You have a choice to be an asshole, and you have a choice to be engaged, and you have a choice to be a kind person. So buck up and be kind. You're home now. You're no longer in the war. So act like a grandfather, act like a father. Don't be a jerk. I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not a war vet or anything, so I'm probably missing an entire thing here. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. Personal opinion. So take it for what it's worth. Everybody has an opinion. My mom used to always say, people have opinions just like people have assholes. You know, doesn't mean that you want to necessarily smell them. You don't want to be around them. But that's your right. And so, my right. I just don't want to be rude about it, you know, because there's so many people out there with an opinion that's so incredibly rude anymore. And then my husband's DNA comes back and it says that he was, oh my goodness, it was like 40% Russian and Prussia. And of course, there was Czechoslovakian in there because his grandfather was from Czechoslovakia. And like 11% Irish. I thought that was hysterical. Here he is, more Irish than me. It's amazing how, because of family, because of, and I don't know what it is, why it happens, but your story is changed by other people. And I guess fairness is a big thing for me. Nothing was ever really fair for me. Maybe I'll delve into that. But anyway, wanted to introduce myself, trying to find out how I can use YouTube to help other people, because I've been down a couple of journeys that have done some damage, but by the grace of God, I'm still standing. I have a wonderful family. Sometimes we drive each other nuts like any other family. But I am very grateful, and I'm very honest, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes I can really hurt myself because I'll be honest about something and people want honesty until they don't. So that has caused problems. But yeah, trying my hand at exercising. Here's a couple of things that we got for ourselves, and I have been using them religiously. We've only had them 2 weeks, I think. I've always wanted something. The bicycle is, I've got bad knees too. I've had 1 knee replacement. My mom gave me so many gifts physically. I don't really want to thank her for them. I got the rheumatoid arthritis, and I got the low thyroid from my dad. I got the smarts from both my parents, the gregarious, silly nature from my dad, and the capability of holding on to old crap from my mom. And that's one thing I have been decidedly been working on, is not holding a grudge. It doesn't hurt the person you're holding the grudge against. It hurts you. It holds you back from personal growth. So, still learning that one. Have to work on that daily. But nice to meet you. Hope I don't make this my last video. So, have a great day. And what is today's date? Let me take a peek here so I can actually get that right. It is April 22nd, 2020. So let's see if this journey of being on Facebook comes of something. So, I meant to say we did 10 years ago, moved to Nashville, Tennessee for a job. It was right after the 2008-2009 crash. We had to short sale our home, in the Chicago suburbs. And things weren't. Yeah, they were what they were. People will remember that stuff. And my husband was laid off during Thanksgiving of 2019 from a job he'd been at for 10 years. And he got a job in Texas with the Medieval Times. Now a lot of people don't know what Medieval Times is. And Medieval Times is freaking fantastic. We had one in the Chicago suburbs. And what it is it's basically, you always laugh and you hear people say things like dinner and a movie. Well, it's dinner and a movie, dinner and a show. It is people who are reenacting jousting and reenacting a Renaissance fair. But it's inside a building, it's inside a castle. They are all over the country, but they're not prevalent enough that like people in the Nashville area would know what Medieval Times is unless they had gone somewhere and gone to Medieval Times. So a lot of people, when I said, Mike got employed by Medieval Times, they didn't know what I was talking about, which is okay. They didn't know what I was talking about half the time anyway, being a Chicago suburban girl and moving to the Nashville area. And I don't like country music. It was interesting. I made some real good friends there, though, so I can't completely besmirch it. But we are in Texas now, and 2 weeks ago today, my husband was quote-unquote laid off, furloughed, as they're called. He has been laid off with the understanding that once it's all over and this coronavirus and the stay in place and all that is over, he will be back at his job. So, but it's been kind of a stressful time. It's been kind of a sad time. Yeah, everybody knows how it's feeling. It's been one for the books. So, but hope you're all doing well, and I shall talk at you later. Hope you have a great day. As Bailey Sarian always says, and this doesn't always go through my mind, so I'm going to have to come up with a statement of my own, but she always says, make good choices. So make good choices, and I'll come up with a statement of my own. I'll figure it out. Bye.